Some Rockford-area veterans who served in the Vietnam War share their experiences with the community today in a unique way, also commemorating the 50th anniversary of the end of the battle. WIFR News reporter Alyssa Kelly attends the special event, learning how students at Harlem High School share the powerful stories of 3 Vietnam veterans.
Students from Harlem High School's documentary project each interviewed a local Vietnam veteran and carefully selected interview clips to bring their stories to life. 50 years ago, 2.7 million American soldiers served in Vietnam, playing a crucial role in history. For those who survived, their experiences left an impact on their future lives. On Saturday, veterans from the Rockford area shared those experiences in a unique way.
You're drawing these stories out of these veterans that their family hasn't heard, or they didn't even remember themselves until they got into that moment, and you see it on their faces.
Chandler Rolston is one of 3 students from Harlem High School's documentary project, an ongoing video diary of sorts. Rolston says he worked with hours of interviews and footage to bring it all to life.
The distance from combat, the further away you are, the more you're able to think about it, and it's more able for you to stick with your mind, and I think it leaves a lasting impact.
Vietnam veteran Stanley Campbell was one of the 3 to share his story Saturday. He says it's important for individuals, especially students, to learn about the history of wars.
It's important to honor the veterans, but it's also important to look at what the causes of that war was, what the problems were, what the mistakes were made, and try not to repeat them.
Marine veteran Melody Bricado says it's not only a time for the veterans to find peace, but also for their families.
Their veteran can live forever in those films, and I think that's the importance of their project, just to let everyone know that the sacrifices they've made and continue to make.
Saturday's event also included powerful stories and statements from John Worling, a retired Major General of the United States Air Force.
Harlem participates in events like Saturdays every year, giving students an opportunity to show their work to the public and veterans an opportunity to share their stories.